Hey there, I'm Ava, the artist that all the newspapers and critics have been talking about for the past 6 months. I live in a cozy apartment with canvases piled up like old newspapers in every corner. Today, I'm dragging my feet at another one of those art exhibitions where people with more money than sense pretend to understand art. But that's where the cash flows from, and I need that to keep doing what I love. I'm setting up my corner, hanging my pieces, when this guy walks in. Looks sharp, suit and all, and he's scanning the room like he's shopping for more than just art. I peg him for another rich snob at first. His eyes stop at my biggest piece, and there's a pause. Then he strolls over, all casual like he's walking into a friend's house uninvited. "That's quite a storm you've captured," he remarks, pointing at my painting of a tumultuous sea. "Yup, it's a mess all right," I reply, wiping my hands on my jeans. Not really in the mood to entertain. He chuckles, a deep sound that seems genuine. "I'm Ethan," he extends his hand, not a speck of pretension. That takes me off guard. "Ava," I shake his hand, firm and brief. "Got tired of painting still lives and sunsets. Thought I'd throw some real life onto the canvas." "That's refreshing," he nods, glancing back at the painting. "It's raw, powerful." I'm about to thank him when he asks, "Got a minute to talk about your work? Maybe over coffee?" Coffee turns into sitting at this overpriced cafe across the street, Ethan sipping his fancy espresso while I stick to plain black coffee. He talks art like he knows it, really knows it. Turns out he owns a couple of galleries and isn't just some suit. "So, you make a living just throwing paint around?" he teases, eyebrow raised. "Beats wearing a tie," I shoot back, smiling despite myself. "We talk about everything, art, music, crappy movies." He's easy to talk to, and I find myself opening up about my dream of making it big without selling out. He listens, really listens. "You're not like the usual artists I meet," he admits. "You're not all airs and graces. You're real, like your paintings." "Thanks, I guess," I say, still wary of compliments. Most guys don't look past the surface, you know? They see a girl who likes to paint, not someone trying to make something of herself. Well, I see someone talented. And it's not just about the art. It's about the artist. You've got something, Ava. Don't let anyone tell you different. The afternoon fades into evening, and I realize I've enjoyed myself. He walks me back to the exhibition, and before we part, he hands me his card. "Think about what I said, Ava. Maybe we can talk more, set up something for your work. No pressure, just think about it." "Yeah, maybe," I take the card, surprised at myself for even considering it. He gives me a small wave and heads back into the crowd, leaving me with a weird feeling in my gut. Like maybe, just maybe, this wasn't just another pointless chat. Life's funny, ain't it? One minute you're slinging paint on a canvas in some dingy studio, and the next, you're being whisked off your feet by a guy who actually gets you. That's been my ride with Ethan. A year of surprises, and not the bad kind. We found ourselves at this tiny Italian place he likes, tucked away in a side street where you'd miss it if you blinked. The kind of spot where the owner knows your name and the food tastes like an old family recipe. Ethan's all smiles tonight, more than usual, and I can't help but feel a buzz in the air. He's fidgeting, which ain't like him at all. I'm about to call him out when he clears his throat, all serious like he's about to deliver the evening news. "Ava, I've been thinking," he starts, and I brace myself. Thinking can lead anywhere with Ethan. "Yeah? About what?" I keep it cool, sipping my wine like it's just another Tuesday. "About us. About this thing we've got going." He pauses, searching my face for clues. I ain't giving anything away just yet. I lean in, eyebrows up. "And?" He takes a deep breath, and then he's down on one knee, right there between the antipasto and the cannoli. I almost spit my wine out. "Ava, will you marry me?" He's holding up this ring, simple but perfect, and for a hot second, I'm speechless. I blink, making sure I'm not 3 glasses deep into a wine dream. "Ethan, are you for real right now?" "As real as it gets." He's grinning, and damn, he looks hopeful. Hell, yes, I laugh, more out of shock than anything. Yeah, Ethan, I'll marry you. The whole restaurant's watching now, clapping, and the owner's bringing over another bottle of wine on the house. Ethan slides the ring on my finger, and it fits like it's always been there. We're laughing and kissing, and for once, I'm not thinking about tomorrow or the next day. Just here, now. He's all lit up, eyes shining. I wasn't sure what you'd say. Really? Come on, when have I ever managed to say no to you? I tease, but I'm riding the high, too. It's just, you're not the typical girl, Ava. You've got this fire, and I never wanted to be the guy to put that out. He's sincere, and it hits me hard, right in the feels. Ethan, you're about the only person who hasn't tried to. I admit, feeling that weird warm fuzz that comes with too much truth and just enough wine. We talk plans, dream big about what comes next. Maybe a small wedding, something low-key, but real nice. We're both grinning like idiots by the time we leave, the cool night air doing nothing to sober the buzz. The wedding was a blast, a real fairy tale kind of day. There I was, in a white dress that made me feel like I was floating on air. Even Jane, my agent and old pal, was all teary-eyed, telling me how she was kindly jealous and throwing around big smiles. It felt like everything was falling right into place. Life with Ethan started out like we were living some kind of dream. We set up house together, and those early days felt full of promise. I was on fire creatively, spending long hours in my studio across town, splashing my thoughts and moods across canvases that just kept piling up. Ethan was all praises then, always saying how amazed he was at what I could create and how hard I worked. But you know how it is, the honeymoon phase doesn't last forever. It wasn't long before I started noticing a shift in Ethan. At first, it was just little signs, like him coming off a bit sharp over dinner or fussing over small stuff that didn't matter. Then it got more intense, especially about my paintings. Why don't you just sell some of these, Ava? He'd start in, his tone more accusing than questioning. You've got dozens just gathering dust here. They're for the upcoming exhibition, Ethan, I'd explain, trying to keep my cool. It's important, you know this. It could really kick things up a notch for my career. But he wouldn't have it. Look, we could use the money, Ava. And honestly, how many more do you need to keep? Things got even more complicated when Jane started dropping by more often. I thought she'd have my back, but it turned out she was singing the same tune as Ethan. One afternoon, she came in laughing about something Ethan had said. He's right, you know. We could practically wallpaper our houses with all the paintings you refused to sell. Her words, meant as a joke, stung. I let it slide once, twice. But when it became their little running gag, I couldn't hold back any longer. One day, I pulled Jane aside after Ethan had cracked another one of those jokes at my expense, laughing like it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. Jane, we need to talk, I said, my voice low but firm. I'm not okay with the jokes. And I'm not okay with you teaming up against me about my work. She looked taken aback, her face flushing with embarrassment or maybe guilt. Ava, I didn't realize it was bothering you that much. It is. And it stops now, or I'm finding a new agent, I said, not wanting to mince words. Ava, come on, you know I was just messing around. Jane tried to smooth things over, her usual confidence slipping. I'm sorry, really. It won't happen again. From then on, things were a bit tense. Ethan kept pushing, and Jane kept her distance, maybe out of guilt, maybe just laying low. I threw myself into my work even harder, partly because it was all I had left that felt right. I wasn't just creating art anymore, I was holding on to the only part of my life that still made sense. Suddenly the smell of paint and thinner, once my allies, had turned into my enemies. Just stepping into my studio made my stomach churn. At first, I chalked it up to stress or maybe a bug I caught, but when the morning started with me hugging the toilet, I knew it was more than just stress or bad takeout. So, I did the one thing that scared me more than a blank canvas, I bought a pregnancy test. Waiting for those lines to appear felt longer than waiting for paint to dry. And there it was, a positive. My heart was racing, a mix of fear and something like joy. I was going to be a mom. I couldn't wait to tell Ethan. I imagined him being thrilled, picturing us as one of those happy families in diaper commercials. But reality has a lousy way of knocking the wind out of you. I told him that evening, the positive test in my hand like some kind of peace offering. His face dropped, and not in a good way. "Ava, we can't do this right now. This is the worst timing," Ethan blurted out, his words like ice water down my back. "What do you mean, we can't do this?" "It's happening, Ethan. It's real," I said, my voice shaky. "We need to get rid of it. We're not ready to be parents." He was almost cold, detached. My heart felt like it was cracking right down the middle. "No, I can't do that. I won't," I said, finding strength I didn't know I had. "If you decide to keep it, don't expect anything from me." His words were a slap, harsh and stinging. I broke down after he left the room. I've never felt so alone. My whole life was about creating, and here I was, creating a life, and the man I loved was turning his back on it, and on me. I called Jane, hoping for some support, some understanding. But even she couldn't mask her hesitation. "Congrats, Ava, but are you sure about this? Maybe Ethan's right. This could really change things for you, for your art." She tiptoed around the edges of what she really wanted to say. "I didn't call to debate this, Jane. I thought you, of all people, would get it." I hung up, feeling the rift between us widen. With the studio now a no-go zone due to my sudden aversion to paint smells, I spent more time outside, walking in the park, trying to clear my head. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I was on my own in this. Ethan became more distant each day, obsessed only with my work, or the lack of it. "When is your exhibition? When are you going to start selling again?" he would ask, not even trying to hide his frustration. I'd snap back. "It's on hold, okay? Can't you see I'm dealing with a bit more than just paintings here?" But he didn't see. Or he didn't want to. Our conversations turned into arguments, quick and sharp like a brush flicking too much paint off its bristles. I was alone, truly alone, but also determined. I had a new life growing inside me, and like my paintings, I was going to see it through, no matter how tough the audience. After weeks of battling morning sickness and steering clear of my studio, the day I felt like myself again, I couldn't wait to get back to my sanctuary. The smell of paint no longer made my stomach turn, and I was eager to lose myself in my work once more. But as soon as I stepped in, something felt off. A quick glance around, and I noticed gaps where there shouldn't be. Some of my paintings were missing. Panic knotted in my chest. I racked my brain. Had I moved them? Sold them and forgot? No way, I would remember selling my own work. I darted to the old PC tucked in the corner, the one hooked up to the security cameras I had installed years back when a local punk thought it'd be fun to tag the warehouse. I never thought I'd need them for anything more than scaring off vandals. Fast forward through hours of nothing, and then, there he was, Ethan, looking sketchy as hell. He was lifting my paintings, one by one, and then walking out. My heart raced. What the hell was he doing? Was he selling my work on the side? But why? I sat back, feeling like I'd been punched. I couldn't confront him, not yet. I needed more info. I grabbed my phone and dialed the number of a private investigator I'd found online, someone with good reviews who didn't look like they'd spill the beans for a quick buck. "Yeah, I need someone tailed. My husband. I think he's up to something bad," I told the PI, my voice a mixture of anger and disbelief. "Understood. We'll start following him today and keep you updated," the PI assured me. For the next 3 weeks, I was on edge, pretending everything was normal around Ethan while waiting for the investigators' calls. He updated me regularly, and the news wasn't good. Ethan was neck-deep in debt, something about bad business deals and loans coming due. It turned out he was using my paintings to keep his creditors at bay. The worst part? Jane was in on it. The two of them were a team, selling my originals and replacing them with fakes. The PI even got photos of them together, laughing, looking way too cozy. My friend and my husband, stabbing me in the back while smiling to my face. When I was alone, I'd replay their conversations in my mind. I told you, Ava will never notice. She trusts us completely. Ethan's voice, smug and confident. Yeah, she's too stupid to notice anything even under her nose, Jane's reply, dripping with disdain. Their betrayal burned in my chest, a constant ache. But I pushed the pain down and focused on my plan. I couldn't tip them off that I knew. I started checking each of my paintings, comparing them to the photos I had on my computer. One by one, I identified the fakes. They were good, but not good enough to fool the artist's eye. I marked each replaced painting discreetly, deciding to keep this to myself until the exhibition. I wanted to expose them publicly, to show everyone their true faces. The day of the exhibition finally arrived. I was a bundle of nerves and anticipation. Everything had to be perfect, not just the art on the walls, but the performance I was about to put on. Dressed elegantly, accentuating my now noticeable pregnancy, I felt powerful, like a storm ready to break. The gallery was buzzing with guests when I arrived. Reporters, art critics, potential buyers, and everyday art lovers filled the space. Ethan and Jane were there too, mingling, laughing, looking like the picture of innocence. They had no idea what was coming. I took the podium, my hands steady, despite the turmoil inside. Thank you, everyone, for being here today, I began, my voice clear and confident. This exhibition was a labor of love, which, given recent personal challenges, was not easy to prepare. I am grateful for all the inspiration from my fans and the support from the community. The room filled with applause, and I nodded, acknowledging the support. But as the clapping died down, I continued. However, I must disclose something important before we proceed. A hush fell over the room. Cameras raised in anticipation, recording every second. I apologize, but many of my paintings here are fakes. Gasps echoed through the hall, and murmurs swirled like a gust of wind picking up leaves. The person responsible for this betrayal is someone I trusted deeply, my husband, Ethan, and his accomplice, my agent and supposed friend, Jane. The shock was palpable. Ethan's face drained of color, and Jane's eyes widened in panic. I have proof of their deceit. I signaled to the tech guy, and the screen behind me lit up, showing video footage from the workshop. There was Ethan, sneaking out with my original paintings, and then replacing them with fakes. The crowd erupted in whispers. I let them soak it in before I played the audio recordings, the nail in the coffin. Ethan's voice filled the room, mocking my ignorance and detailing their scheme to use my art to settle his debts. Jane's laughter, cruel and dismissive, followed. I was a fool, but not because I didn't know, I said into the mic, my voice firm. But because I trusted without question. That ends today. Reporters swarmed around Ethan and Jane, firing questions faster than bullets. They stumbled over their words, their excuses feeble and unsatisfying. As they tried to leave, the police entered, moving through the crowd and straight to them. They read their rights and cuffed them, all while cameras flashed and recorded every moment. The room erupted into applause, not just for the drama, but for the resilience I'd shown. I stood there, hand on my belly, feeling my daughter kick as if in approval. The fallout from the exhibition scandal turned my life upside down, but this time in a good way. My paintings, once confined to my studio and the occasional gallery wall, were now in high demand. Prices for my work skyrocketed as art lovers clamored to own a piece of the story. With the rush of new attention, my phone was buzzing nonstop. Interviews, talk show invites, and gallery offers flooded in. It was overwhelming but exhilarating. "You're a hot commodity, Ava." My new agent, Mike, chuckled over the phone. He was a straight shooter, recommended by a fellow artist who swore by his honesty. "We've got to strike while the iron's hot." Amidst the chaos, the most profound change came quietly, a baby girl with her mother's stubborn streak and her father's deep blue eyes. Holding her for the first time, I felt a surge of protectiveness. "I'll call you Mia," I whispered. She was my new beginning. The divorce from Ethan was messy, but swift. My lawyer was a bulldog, fighting tooth and nail for every penny of compensation and child support. "He'll pay for what he did, Ava. Not just in cash, he had promised me early on, and he delivered." The day Ethan and Jane were sentenced was a spectacle. The courtroom was packed, the air thick with anticipation. I sat in the front row, Mia cradled against my chest, a silent observer to her parents' past unfolding. Ethan couldn't meet my gaze. He and Jane looked small, deflated, gone was the arrogance and the smug smiles. When the judge handed down the sentence, short prison terms but long-lasting public disgrace, they merely nodded, accepting their fate without a word. Life settled into a new rhythm after that. Mia grew quick as a flash, giggling and babbling her way into everyone's hearts. My studio became my sanctuary once again, only this time with a crib in the corner and baby toys scattered among paint tubes. Mike was a godsend, handling the business side with a deft touch that left me free to create. "You've got a gallery opening in New York next month," he informed me one afternoon as I dabbed at a canvas, Mia playing at my feet. "New York, huh? Sounds like a big deal," I mused, not pausing my brushstrokes. And so, with my past tucked away like the darker colors on my palette, I painted my future in bright, bold strokes. Mia's laughter filled the air, a sweeter melody than any acclaim or applause. It's been 3 years since the dust settled on the chaos that was my old life. 3 years, and I've carved out a space for myself and Mia that's about as peaceful as it gets. We're living in a cozy house with a sprawling backyard where Mia can run around and I can breathe easy. My art? It's taken off in ways I only dreamed of. Collaborating with galleries, my paintings fetching prices that make me do a double take, it's all still a bit surreal. I was in the middle of setting up a new canvas in the makeshift studio I rigged up in the garage when my phone buzzed. The screen flashed Ethan's name. Hesitating just a second, I answered, bracing myself. "Ava, it's Ethan. I've been thinking a lot since everything. I'm out now, and I want to apologize, Ava. Truly. And I was hoping." "You're hoping what, Ethan? Hoping I've forgotten everything? Hoping I'd just let you waltz back into our lives?" I cut him off, not needing to hear the rest. No, it's not like that. I don't expect anything, Ava. I want to see Mia. I want to be a part of her life. I'm her father." I sighed, a heavy, tired sound. "You lost the right to call yourself that when you decided your debts were more important than your family." "I know I messed up, I do. I've changed, Ava. I have," he pleaded, his voice cracking a bit. "Good for you, Ethan. Really. But Mia's doing just fine without you. We both are. You're not part of this life anymore." I wasn't just throwing words, I meant every one of them. Can I at least send her something? For her birthday or Christmas?" His voice was smaller now, almost lost. "You can send it to Mike, my agent. He'll make sure it's appropriate before it gets to her. That's the best I can offer you." Another pause, then a quiet, "Okay. Thank you, Ava. Goodbye, Ethan." I hung up before he could say anything else, my hand shaking just a bit as I put the phone down. Mia came barreling into the studio then, all giggles and energy, her hair a mess from playing outside. "Mommy, look what I made." She held up a drawing, a swirl of colors that only a child's mind could dream up. "It's beautiful, sweetheart," I said, pulling her into a hug, the earlier phone call already fading from my mind. "Absolutely beautiful." Life had a funny way of balancing out. For every bad memory, there was a moment like this, so full of joy and innocence it made everything else seem small. I was making art, raising my daughter, and living a life I had fought hard to reclaim. No, it wasn't always easy, but it was ours, and it was filled with more love and laughter than I ever thought possible. The galleries kept calling, Mia kept growing, and I kept painting, our days a canvas that we filled together, bold and bright. Ethan was just a shadow, a part of a past chapter that was closed and done. As Mia tugged on my hand, pulling me back to her world of make-believe and masterpieces, I knew we were exactly where we needed to be. In a home filled with love, light, and the laughter of a little girl who knew she was the heart of her mother's universe.